It's intermission time on today's Philharmonic Symphony program, and we return you to Jim Fassett, recording with his two intermission guests, the pianist and renowned teacher of piano, Madame Rosina Lhévinne, and her pupil, the soloist on today's Philharmonic Symphony program, Van Cliburn.
Van, the radio audience who's to hear you play the Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto in a few minutes would like to know something of your early training. You're only 19 now, but I mean of your even earlier training on the piano.
Well, I started with my mother when I was 3, and she didn't want to have formal lessons or anything like that, but she wanted to instill a great love for music. Moreover, she wanted to let me try to know whether I wanted to play the piano, and she didn't want to force anything. And she would just let me listen to her pupils as she would teach them, and she would like for me to listen to her play the piano as she would practice. And so then she started me with little formal lessons and giving me pieces to learn and scales to play, etc. When I was about 4 or 5, then she let me play a little program of her own little compositions that she had composed for the early beginners, and then some. I know the first prelude and fugue of Bach.
When did you first see Van Cliburn, Madame Lhévinne?
Van came when he was 17 years old to the Juilliard School. And he was exceedingly well prepared before he came to the Juilliard to me by his mother, Rilda B. O'Brien Cliburn.
What were the circumstances of his coming to you directly to be his
Well,
teacher?
he really enrolled in the Juilliard School and wrote that he would like to study with me. And
well, you don't take just anybody, do you?
No, certainly not.
That's what I mean. How do you decide who will be your pupil and who will not?
You see, we have examinations. And so I had 3 of his other friends from Texas, and they spoke about him. And then when he played, I was very much impressed with his performance, because I saw that he has great enthusiasm and love for music. And that is what I find now in working with him, that not only he has a natural-born wonderful equipment, but he is very musical, exceedingly sensitive, and this exuberant love and enthusiasm for music, I think, makes him play as he does.
And that is what counts most of all.
I do feel that very strongly.
Van, tell us something about the Edgar M. Leventritt Award. Who are the judges? How many competitors are there? How did you happen to apply, and all the rest?
Well, it has been going on, I think, for about 15 years, an annual competition to find either a pianist or a violinist. And so this particular year I decided, well, I think I'll try my luck at this. And it was the funniest thing, I think, when I came to the town hall and saw these illustrious judges. I think Mr. Serkin, Mr. Zell, Mr. Chasen, Mr. Reisenberg, and there were about 12 in all. And so I just wanted to run away. I never saw anything so horrifying. And before I started to play, of course, I felt the same way while I was playing, but there wasn't anything I could do about it then.
What did you play
at
the audition?
Well, I played Les Adieux Sonata of Beethoven and Tchaikovsky Concerto and Mozart D minor Concerto, the Liszt 12th Rhapsody, and...
well, you played a whole recital.
Well, it was sectionalized. I played all of Liszt 12th Rhapsody and all first movement of Tchaikovsky Concerto, and a great deal of the first and second movements of Mozart D minor, and the second and third movements of Les Adieux all the way.
How did you tell your teacher that you were the winner?
Well, I would sort of appreciate Mrs. Lhévinne's telling that. I think probably she would have a better recollection than I.
Van came immediately after he heard that he won the competition, and I expected a telephone call, but instead the doorbell rang very loudly, and I went to the door. Then was Van, and almost knocked me down. In such exuberant way, he said that he won the Leventritt, and then in a minute he got to be very pensive. And he said, "Oh, what a responsibility.
Yeah.
Do you think that I can live up to it?" That was his reaction. I want to say also that I am not surprised that he was so excited, competing for this award, because the Lhévinne is the goal of all the young pianists in the country, because it is such a marvelous opportunity to play with one of the greatest orchestra and with a great conductor.
Van Cliburn is not the first pupil of yours, Madame Lhévinne, who has won any award, has he?
No, Mr. Fassett. I had many young people who won important awards, and I consider myself very fortunate to have the opportunity of working with such great talents. I feel the greater the talent is, the more responsibility to guide them in the right direction.
Well, speaking on that subject, Madame Lhévinne, will you express yourself on the repertoire that you think a young American artist should be prepared to play by the time he makes his debut?
In the 3, 4, or maximum 5 years that they are with me at the Juilliard School, I feel that a student ought to cover a great deal of Bach, and not transcriptions, but fugues, partitas, suites, toccatas, chromatic fantasy, many Mozart sonatas, many Beethoven sonatas, including at least two of the last period, the Schubert sonatas, which, by the way, I can never teach the second movement without having a lump in my throat. It is so beautiful.
You mean all the Schubert sonatas, second movements?
I love them. I love them dearly. Each one I teach, I think this is the most beautiful. Like with the Brahms symphonies, I think one has the same reaction. And then the major compositions of Brahms, Schumann, Chopin, the impressionistic French music, and of course the moderns. I think also that a young man or woman who start to play in public ought to have at least 4 or 5 concertos that they can play. In case of Van, for instance, he's playing the Tchaikovsky, but he's playing also this season the Emperor Beethoven, the 5th, the Schumann Concerto, the 3rd Rachmaninoff, and in his repertoire he has the Brahms B-flat and the Mozart D minor, and also the Liszt Concerto, which is a little ice cream.
Which one?
The E-flat.
I'd like to break in at this point and say, when you're talking about the young artist, I guess it's because I'm prejudiced, because all my musical education has come from the home and the Juilliard School, my mother and Mrs. Lhévinne, as far as piano goes. But there are so many wonderful opportunities that the Juilliard School affords, and through the wonderful work that Mr. William Schumann and Mr. Mark Schubart provide, and the Placement Bureau. I know it's really wonderful opportunities that they can.
Well, we've done a lot of talking about piano playing, and now it's time to do some piano playing. Van Cliburn, thanks very, very much to both of you for being here.
It was so wonderful to be with you, Mr. Fassett.
Thank you, Mr. Fassett. It's a great pleasure to be with you.